live from the SSC Arena. Welcome everybody to the final day of the ECS Season 1 Finals. After 3 days of action, we are finally down to 2 teams fighting for $250,000 as well as the coveted title of ECS Champion. Our first team is the #1 team in the world, boasting 6 grand final finishes, and today they're looking to take home a 4th trophy. Facing them is the French team looking to get revenge from the Pro League finals last month and finally claim a championship title for the very first time. Please welcome your grand finalists on stage, G2 and Luminosity.
It is time. Our grand finals are set. It is Luminosity taking on G2 Esports. I am Sir Scoots. I am joined by Yanko and Lurpus again. Gentlemen, let's get into it. Let's bring everybody up to speed with how we got here. We started with 8 teams qualified, all online, either in North America or in Europe, in the FACEIT ECS League. Getting them here, lots of money on the line, over $1 million in rev share and prize money and all sorts of crazy stuff for the teams and the organizations. Tommy, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you kind of walk us through Bracket A and how those groups got out?
Sure. So Group A was the one with was the much harder group on paper. So it had Luminosity, NIP, had Liquid, and G2. So the favorites to go through were actually NIP and Luminosity. NIP were knocked out by G2, the French team, who have really gotten a whole lot better in the past couple months. Then later on in the lower bracket, it was Liquid, who were actually very close to knocking out G2. I tweeted before the game was over that it was going to be 2 North Americans in the semifinals. Didn't end up panning out in the end. G2 pulled through with a comeback. And Luminosity, obviously, they just ran through the group.
Yanko, your thoughts on this group? What stood out to you other than obviously Luminosity running through the group?
I mean, it was definitely NIP dropping out of the tournament without winning a single map, as we touched upon it yesterday. That's the first time in history that NIP drops out of a tournament without at least winning 1 map. So that was a huge surprise, and also I was positively surprised by Liquid, at least in this mixed type of a lineup, what they showed in the in the low amount of time they had to actually practice. I think they showed some promise, and you know, Simple did had a pretty poor game in that decider match against G2. So if he, you know, steps up for the major, I think they can be a pretty dangerous team again.
And the crazy thing about this group, once again, is that NIP actually lost against the world's #1 team, another team that's probably one of the hottest teams right now, G2. That was a best 3 as well. So they lost to 2 very good teams, teams that could be considered potentially even top 5-ish in current form, yet they ended up placing dead last.
And on the other side of the coin, obviously the group that G2 came out of, we have Group B. Yanko, I'm going to have you walk us through this group when you get a chance here.
Yeah, well, this was where we had TSM. I mean, they're the story of Group B, basically managing to surprise pretty much everyone and then make it out of the groups alongside Fnatic. First, they managed to take down Astralis in a best of 1 on Cobble, and after that, losing in a close game to Fnatic, they managed to beat their counterparts in North America, Cloud9, as well, with a pretty convincing 2-0 victory. So TSM alongside with Astralis also dropping out of the tournament without winning a single map. That was also quite surprising to me, and I think those are the main storylines of Group B.
I'm still just kind of flabbergasted. No Fnatic, no NIP, no Astralis. And again, these 2 teams have certainly most recently met in a final, but still, it just seems odd that like no Swedes. Right? It's kind of crazy, right? For once, you don't see it very often.
Well, it's the perfect storm, right? Because Fnatic have just gotten Olofmeister back from his injury, and you know, he's probably very close to 100%, but he's not. Actually, hasn't had enough time to practice to be in 100% form at least, even if his arm is back to normal. And NIP, they didn't look that great at DreamHack Summer. I think it's mostly a practice event. And I think in general, everybody's mostly focusing on the major currently. That has to be the number one thing in everyone's minds.
And I mean, talking about the major, both G2 and Luminosity are in the same group at the major, and you know who else is there? Fnatic and FaZe. I mean, that's definitely, you know, you look at the group, you have 3 out of the top 4 teams at this tournament, and that's definitely going to be a pretty interesting group to watch at the major.
All right, well, let's start breaking this one down. Obviously, our breakdown today is brought to you by the Score Esports. If you're looking for an application on your mobile devices to keep an eye on all esports stuff, especially ECS and Counter-Strike, you definitely want to check out the Score Esports app. Available in the iOS store as well as the Google Play Store, so definitely get into that. Let's start with the #1 team in the world. We're going to talk about Luminosity. Why don't you start us with that roster?
Yeah, I feel that by now, I think everyone knows about these guys. Fallen, the in-game leader and the main opera of the team, also kind of a father figure for the whole Brazilian scene. I mean, he started his Games Academy project out of nowhere. Basically, when CSGO started, he was still doing CS 1.6 lessons, so slowly moved over to the new version of Counter-Strike. First moved to North America with his own team, then supported the Immortals team. They were the winners of a Games Academy tournament that netted them a trip to North America and ability to practice with the best. So they are a team that was known to be able to make upsets in a best-of-1, and then since in November they added Taco and FNX to the roster. First tournament they play with basically no practice, they managed to make it to a grand finals of a tournament, beating I think 3 of the world's top 10 teams in a best-of-3 along the way. So that in the beginning of this current roster of the team, you could see that they are probably going to do some great things together.
And Lorbis, your thoughts on Luminosity's roster?
Well, and it was just one of those rosters that instantly clicked. The second they got put together, they, like Janko said, they beat NIP, NVS, and then TSM, who is now Astralis, all in best-of-3s. And that was the first time they beat any good team in a best-of-3 ever.
And all of this happened after they lost 16-0 to Fnatic on day
exactly.
one. And I remember doing that event, and all of us at the desk and Commentator as well, yeah, this is what happens when you switch 2 players a day before the event. We don't know why they did, and then they just kept surprising us by taking down these European teams.
And you know, they actually played a very competitive grand final as well against Fnatic in a rematch, and that sort of put a stop to their playing Dust 2. They gave you one more chance last year playing against Navi, which is probably the wrong team you want to play. You want to play Dust 2 against, but now they're back on it, and that's actually another strong map for them.
And side note, as most of us know in the industry, Luminosity, this roster has been transferred to SK. So this will be the last Luminosity match for the Brazilians, at least. I'm sure that gang will probably look for another team. But again, we'll see them next time at the major. They will be actually as SK. And now let's get into G2, the other side of the coin, the opponents. And again, these guys have played quite a bit back and forth. When we get into the maps, I want to talk about their most recent matchup, that best-of-5. Tommy, why don't you start with the G2 roster?
So the players have been the most important players in the middle. The most valuable player in this team is shox, regardless of how well Screen plays and what kind of stats him and RPK put up. shox is the guy who makes the team go. He's the leader of the team. He makes the mid-round calls. And he's just one of those guys that makes everybody around him better. He has a history of teaming up with weaker players after having struggles in the best friends team at the time a couple times, and always making a competitive team out of that. Obviously, they added bodyy a couple of months ago now, and he's also developed fairly quickly. Some of the players who, when they finally get a chance to step up to the big stage, they kind of struggle for a while. body's still not that consistent, and part of it has to do with his role, but he has shown quite a high peaks at times.
And then our players to watch are no-brainers. I think it's Fallen and shox.
Yeah, definitely. As Tommy just pointed out, shox is the engine of the team, so to speak. He's the one who makes things happen. He's the one who makes all the calls, pretty much. And the same applies for Fallen. Now, another luxury that LG has in this particular matchup is that I don't believe that SmithZz is on the level of Fallen when it comes to opping. I think that he's really good on Dust too. I think he's good on Train as well, but he's not the same type of an opper. He's mostly efficient on the CT side, while Fallen can really make things happen both as terrorist and as counter-terrorist. I think that it's pretty amazing the performance he puts out, considering that he's the in-game leader as well, and he needs to think about what they're going to do as a team, how are they going to adapt to their opponents, and yeah, I think that's pretty impressive what he's managing to do right now.
And Fallen's a great example of how hard work pays off, right? Because he's one of those guys who, he was a star in 1.6. He was the star opera of that team. He was the guy that the Brazilian lineups were built around, and he was not a leader back then. And now he transferred to a leadership role because that was the role that needed to be filled. He wasn't that good. He was a good player in the beginning of CSGO as he started playing. He was doing okay. He was doing fine. And then this year, he has turned into basically a top 5 player in the world. And some of the stuff that he can do is just incredible. There's very few operas who can rival the kind of things that he does. And he's an incredibly smart player.
Let's get into the picks and the bans. One thing I did want to point out is earlier today, they both devastated their opponents on overpass. 16-3 and 16-2 were those scorelines, TSM and Fnatic respectively. So initial thoughts on what they're going to play?
I mean, I feel that the bans are going to be pretty straightforward, that G2 will veto Mirage, as we can see that they already did, and LG will veto Cash. I presume now what's interesting for me here is going to be whether G2 decides to straight out pick Nuke.
That's the key thing, and that's what we were talking about out back before we went live, is I think if Nuke gets played, I think that's the decider in the series. Because I think these teams are fairly close. Their history playing the grand final 3-2 with very close maps that, in London actually, roughly a month ago, a little more. They just look like teams that can sort of go hit to things, be even on almost everything else. And they're the two teams so far, they've been very vocal about liking the new Nuke, and that's rare. So it'll be very interesting to see, possibly the first time you actually see high-level Counter-Strike on Nuke.
I think that, you know, remembering that Pro League finals last month, it was basically teams trading their maps. I thought that there was no way that G2 will be able to beat Luminosity on overpass. They beat them pretty handily, and the same thing for Dust 2. I thought that had to be G2's map playing it against Luminosity, but they managed to trade them back and forth. So if G2 doesn't go for Nuke, I'm not really sure what they're going to pick, right? Seeing as how they beat Luminosity on maps that they quote-unquote shouldn't have. They might even go for Cobble, considering it's one of the maps LG has been struggling on recently. G2 has been playing well on it, generally speaking, but they had that bad map on this tournament, so this is really up in the air. It's going to be really hard for me to predict what they're going to pick here in the first phase.
Yeah, and the map vetoes are super interesting. G2 went with Dust 2.
This comes down to also, you know, how some teams work. Luminosity, after losing in that first game against Fnatic 16-0, they just don't play Dust 2. Fnatic at the major, losing to Liquid on Dust 2, they just vetoed that map for the end of the tournament instead of Mirage. So some teams, after they have a big loss, they'll just, you know, remove that map and switch to something else. G2 did lose Dust 2 to LG at the Pro League finals, but they still believe that they are the better team on the map. So they pick it nonetheless. And now I expect LG perhaps to pick overpass. If not that, maybe something like Train for them.
I think Train would be a solid pick for them. I'm a little surprised the G2 are going with Dust 2, because it is a map where, as Luminosity go with overpass, I think Dust 2 is a map where the combination of coldzera and Fallen Opping can really devastate people. And especially G2, because like we said, Smix is good at his roles. He has his things that he's good at, but then he's not the guy you can just have roam around the map and get picks all over. And that's the danger that they're going to run into facing Luminosity, who can have a coldzera opping B, have Fallen just roaming around the map and getting picks, and that's going to be very hard to counter. Basically, it's going to almost come down to, I think, G2 just having to have money control. I think that's how you beat Luminosity and their ops.
So they've both picked they've each picked the map they lost at ESL Pro League. And overall at Pro League, they obviously played that best of 5, and it went to 5-3-2. But they also played once earlier in the group stage. G2 did win that one. So they're actually 3-3 coming out of the Pro League matches. But it is an interesting that, like, again, they lost those maps that they're picking against these teams.
That just seems that they're pretty confident nonetheless, right? I mean, we were really surprised the way that final went, considering the maps and the trading that was going on over there. But G2 decides to veto Train, even though they did beat Luminosity on it at Pro League. And that was actually them making a really good comeback that after having bad starts in both halves, pretty much. So right now, I would expect LG to just veto Nuke at this point.
I would think so too, because they are still the slight favorites in this matchup. So as a favorite, you want to introduce as little randomness as you possibly can. And Nuke is still untested on this level, so I wouldn't expect them to play it. I think that also seems to be how Fallen thinks of the game. And I think that was a smart move getting rid of Train on G2's part. It's just one of those maps where falling can just devastate you.
Yeah, and that is the map, though, that they won earlier in that tournament. G2 did beat them on Train, but then in the best-of-5 finals, they did lose it.
I mean, these teams are pretty much neck and neck. And what is going to be interesting for me on Dust 2 to see is that what G2 does on their T side, they keep doing the same things over and over again. They go for a lot of B splits. The thing that they change is sometimes they go with 3 or 4 players towards mid. Sometimes they just have shox go out alone, fake that they have multiple players there and just run out from tunnels with the majority of their team. Basically knowing that the way the CTs defend the mid to B split is they basically either focus towards mid, leaving B open, or they try to push tunnels or have a player boosted on the box in CT spawn and have both players defending from side. So there are a couple of setups that the CTs use, and I think it revolves around shox trying to get a good read on the setup and then trying to counter it with just brute force.
And that's exactly it, is what you just said there at the end. G2's playing style really is brute force. I think they try to bulldoze their way into places. But as long as shox does a good job reading how the defense is playing mid-round, it's not a problem if you're playing well individually. And now we get Cobblestone removed by LG, and the final map, if needed, is going to be Nuke. And that's something I'm very excited for. I really hope the series goes to 3.
Yeah, and prior to the event, in the last 3 months, they both played it once. They both won that one map. And then obviously G2 played it yesterday against Liquid and beat them on that. So there's not a lot of at least public experience for either of these teams on this map, but obviously the map is just now back in our pool as well.
And these two are the teams that have been vocal on social media saying they like the map. It's a map they both like to play. I was talking to Freiburg last night, and because I was trying to sort of take the temperature of who plays Nuke, how do you think it should be played, you know, to get a better understanding. And he said G2 are good on Nuke. That was the first thing that he said when I asked who plays Nuke. He said G2 are good on Nuke.
What do you, while we're on Nuke, I always like to ask guys, what do you think about this Nuke versus the old, it was one of my favorite maps back in the day, the old Nuke. I really liked it, and it just seems like it hasn't gotten that back.
Well, I think it's just overly complicated. There's too many choke points, especially the lower side is now riddled with spots to hide. I think Valve has tried a little too hard, I think, on the map. Sometimes, actually a lot of the time, I think simple is better.
Yeah, like uncluttered, less routes, etc.
If you can simplify without losing any depth, then you're not missing out on anything. You're just making it better. And I think that's the opposite of the approach they've taken.
Okay, so let's step back up to the first map, and let's kind of get some thoughts on keys to victory for either team.
I agree with Tommy to an extent that probably a key to victory for G2 would be to have a really strong T side and, in a sense, keep the economy low for Luminosity all the time, because they are really proficient with that double op setup. And in turn, I think that the key for Luminosity is actually going to be how are they going to battle with those mid to B splits that G2 likes to utilize so much on their T side.
And I'm curious to see how much Fallen and company have changed their default strats, basically, their setups. Because G2 is a team that when you watch them play, and you're an in-game leader, the first thing that pops out is they play really simple CS. Like, they should be pretty easy to counter. And if you can just figure out a couple of reads, then you could really completely shut them down, potentially. So I wonder if Fallen and their guys just think that, A, they're good enough to beat them, just play their own game, and that's it. Or if they think maybe if we make a couple of adjustments, we can really blow the series open.
And now Overpass, again, as I mentioned earlier, they both played it today already, and they were both one-sided victories. How much, we don't know who watched who and who got, you know, they might have been warming up, they might have been at the hotels, we don't know what they watched. But again, they've obviously both feel very comfortable right now on that map. Let's kind of talk about Overpass.
Definitely, but the thing is, I mean, LG obviously played TSM, who is really not comfortable on the map, and they're just a much stronger team, so you can't take much away from that game. But in the G2 Fnatic game, it's a similar case. Okay, the teams are much closer, but Fnatic didn't play like the Fnatic we know, right? They did seem like they were still asleep, and G2 just ran over them with, you know, sheer aim, firepower, with just winning a lot of duels. And in particular, RpK, shox, and Scream, all three of them had an amazing game. So there wasn't much that Fnatic could do, not much we can take away from those games. But I would feel that what goes Luminosity's way on Overpass is that, as we saw a bit in the TSM matchup, they have these different setups, they have good aggression on their CT side, so they might be able to disrupt G2's play before shox manages to get himself in a favorable position to get a read on LG and move his team around.
And I said earlier today that I think Overpass is, at least should be the most tactical map in the pool. It has incredible amount of opportunities, different things you can do. You can be aggressive as CTs, you can gain map control as CTs. And that sort of puts a nice contrast into the grand final, because Luminosity is an extremely tactical team, and that fits this map. But at the same time, GT is the opposite. They play simple Counter-Strike, and that's going to be two different, completely different styles going up against each other on a map that I think slightly favors Luminosity's style.
And if we get the nuke, same questions, kind of keys to victory for the teams.
I have no idea, Scott.
Yeah, it's new. I know.
So what we're seeing so far on nuke is that teams seem to treat it like the old nuke. We don't see too many flashy strategies on the T side using that heaven area on the roof of main and such. I feel that it's going to come down to which team can win enough on the T side, because I feel both teams are going to have strong CT sides. I do think that G2 showed more so far on nuke than LG did, so I feel that they do have a slight advantage on that map.
I tend to think the same. I think based on the little that we have seen, I think G2 looked more impressive so far. But I mean, very small sample size, you can't take too much away from that. I also think that the way teams play that map is going to change over time as we see more, because so far everyone plays, like you said, exactly how everybody played the old nuke, and I think there probably are more aces up teams and sleeves, and I think this actually is one of the very rare times that teams haven't been showing everything they have, and more than that, I think teams have been avoiding playing nuke before the major, because it's definitely something they want to keep up if they're good on the map. They don't want to show it early on, but I mean, it's a grand final. You're not going to be, and the deciding map, so if it comes to that, you're not going to be thinking, well, maybe we save this for next week. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, major is the big point that you kind of are forced to play nuke, or at least, you know, treat it in some way. But I do feel that learning from, you know, past experiences, the players probably believe that nuke is going to be changed before, you know, maybe even a couple of times, like we've seen with Overpass and Cobble, before it really becomes a map that's, you know, truly competitive in a way.
And I even think that the players expected more changes to nuke prior to the major. Yep. That's what I felt too when nuke came out. I thought it would be changed more from how it originally came out to how it is going to be at the major, because there was plenty of time still in between. But we had the one big update, but that's really been it. There's nothing that really changed how the map plays has been changed.
All right, gentlemen, let's get some predictions. And feel free to, you know, pontificate on your choices and why. We don't need scores, though. We don't need scores.
This is really hard to predict. I feel that for some reason I'm going to go with G2. You see, I'm struggling to even make a sensible sentence. But it just seems that from what we've seen today, when you just talk about pure form, they really seem to be on fire. Not just shox and Scream, but RpK. SmithZz as well. We haven't talked a lot about him, but he has been doing his job, basically, and that's all that you need from him. And we saw that Fallen was a bit quiet in that TSM game. Yes, maybe he felt that he didn't need to do much. His team was doing most of the work, but I don't know. Somehow I want to say that G2 will get the win here, but then we're gonna see a much more interesting major Group B.
I have to.
Time out. I still want a match score, not necessarily round scores.
I feel that it's going to be 2-1 for G2, but I have no idea which match.
Which match? Fair enough. I will not hold you under the fire for that one.
I actually think Luminosity have a chance to win 2-0. I hope they don't, because I really want to see nuke being played. I think that we didn't really get to see Luminosity in full form, because I mean, it's a bit of a dirty secret that their cobblestone just hasn't been good. I mean, they've had a lot of issues on that map. I said that a while ago, that's the map you want to get Luminosity on. And that's why I thought G2 might play them on it, even though they're not that good on it either, just to sort of see how they stack up, especially considering they had that match earlier today that could watch and sort of plan things around. I think Luminosity have overall looked very good. I think we're sort of underestimating them a little bit because they played that close map the very last game against TSM. But we know TSM is incredible on Cobble, and that's been a poor map for Luminosity. So I think that sort of just skews how we view the team right now. So I'm gonna go with Luminosity. I'll actually go 2-0, but I sincerely hope that it goes 3.
I'll give you a bit more to work with, Scott. I actually think they're going to win their respective maps this time around.
There you go. Thank you very much, Janko. All right, that's going to do it for us. You can see the teams are getting ready. We're all done with our segment. We'll be back after each map to kind of wrap up the first map, give you some highlights, and throw you back into the second one. But to bring you all the action in this grand final of the ECS, you know who it is. It's James and DDK. Gentlemen, it's all yours.
Boom.
Wow.
Swag Lords have arrived.
I never expected this to be the grand final, but I'm so pumped up considering the transformation that G2 has made, because at the start of our season, they had, the issues, lineups and various things. The existence got removed from the team and they were struggling here and there. Then they had that crazy 2 weeks of form. Luckily for them, they had most of their league games during that point. And they managed to finish very well. And it seems like so far they're doing just that here on LAN as well.
First thing I want to say actually is that this London crowd has been absolutely awesome. And we're really proud to bring you some Counter-Strike, and hopefully we can do more in the future. So, G2 versus Luminosity, a really interesting set of maps. I think Dust 2 is going to be a really big factor here, and I think it's an important one for G2 to win. But Luminosity are more than capable. We know what Fallen can do with a Scout, let alone an AWP.
This is the cool thing, isn't it? Because this is a great way to start off this series, because I think everybody really feels like Luminosity, I mean, of course, Yanko is like, he actually struggled to make that prediction. You could see his, I don't know if he was torn between his analyst brain and his gut feeling in his heart, but he went with G2. And this is a great start for G2. Luminosity aren't the best Dust 2 team ever. It's a map that they've been improving. We're going to check out the knife round here, something we haven't shown really all that much this tournament. I think this is the first one we're going to broadcast.
Speaking of knives, Dan, there's a guy opening cases at the front of the crowd, and
really?
apparently he opened a brand new knife, so congratulations to you, sir. Oh, let's see who's going to be winning the knives between these two teams. I don't think it really matters too much who wins a knife on Dust 2, but it matters to the crowd, Dan. Much noise being made here.
I feel like G2 have been getting a lot of really good starts because they've always been ending up on that T side, and it seemed to be a bit of an issue for Fnatic when it came to overpass. It was a bit of an issue for NIP as well to a large extent, because G2 are always able to put their best foot forward right at the start of a series and get that momentum going. And they do have quite a lot of emotional players like shox and Scream. When they really get those shots firing off early and the confidence builds, they go into Super Saiyan mode, and that's what we love to see. And Luminosity, they've been doing a lot of homework on Dust 2, but are they ready for G2, who will be starting on the CT side for once?
Seems we have a favoured team in the crowd here, and it appears to be Luminosity. But again, I do want a 3-mapper here, and Luminosity are going to be very dangerous on overpass, but we'll get into that later on. G2, shox and Scream. Can anybody in this tournament stop them? We will soon find out. Look at these fans. You guys are absolutely awesome. So, the last huddle between both sides before we get into things here. There's a lot on the line for these teams before we move into the major. G2 in position, ready. bodyy needs to show up here. He hasn't been showing up in every match. And they're up against maybe the most dangerous team in a tournament, maybe in the world then.
Yeah, I mean, talking about runs into this finals, Luminosity, they lost one map in league play, lost one map. What's the TSM on Cobblestone? And you could hear Lerpus talking about the Cobblestone of Luminosity maybe being a bit of a weak point for them, and that would explain it a little bit. But yeah, dominance was basically the key for them going up to this point, and I can't wait to see what they have to throw against G2, because they get to dictate the pace straight off the bat here, starting off on that T side. It looks like we're about to start.
Right, the clock is ticking. London, make some noise! In this pitch. Now we've got Luminosity starting on the T side. We've got 3 players with Kevlar. Fallen and Cold are going to have the nades out. 2 smokes and 4 flashes, actually. That's quite interesting for a pistol round on Dust 2. Taking initial map control over towards the tunnels here, and the frags are going their way.
Yeah, ready with that aggression in upper dark. It didn't work out very well. Scream needs to do something to make good of this bad situation that G2 are in right now as Luminosity storm into the site. Scream can't connect quickly enough, but he's got teammates shox and bodyy coming in just at the right moment. They won't save Scream. It's all on shox versus 3, and he's got quite a run ahead of him to get to the bomb site even. So this is going to be a tough one. He's got to try to find a kit along the way as well.
Yeah, he was so far away. He was almost lost. But again, he just needs to get himself the 1 versus 1s. And that smoke grenade is going to be a huge problem for him. He's going to be in arguably the worst choke point here. But again, there are 3 players left and there are 3 entrances into B. So he has opportunity. Waiting for someone to serve themselves up, but nobody's over towards the headshot position. That clock continues to tick. There is no kit on shox. He needs one in the sights here. Or maybe he's resigned himself to playing for the exits. trying to push in now, but again, this is surely not possible. Can he make any more money? Looks like this round is going to Luminosity. FNX chasing that final frag, but shox will make a little bit of money going into the next round.
And he survives with 1 HP, James, which is quite nice because he gets to keep his Kevlar, which is always a bonus. And as you said, he gets to get an extra $300, which can really make the difference. Get a scout, and also he already had a kill, so maybe he can get an HE now as well. The scout HE combo, something to that effect, could be quite fun to see. And we are going to get the force buy here from G2, so this round should be quite action-packed. But Luminosity, they should be pretty well-versed in good anti-force buy play, and already a scout connection from Fallen. He is definitely a scout specialist when it comes to this map.
Double peaks coming in from the CT side, and yet Fallen's the only man to make a connection there at the beginning of the round. Other than the mid peaks, we have a bit of a passive start here for Luminosity. Again, they're going to wait for G2 to potentially overextend to hang themselves. Starting to move into the long area now. For leading the charge with the MAC-10. Bit of a specialist with the assaulted weaponry in this game. And shox is in a great position here. We've seen problems caused by this position in this tournament already with a scout. And if Luminosity start to get tagged, and despite their time and long, then they may be in trouble. Fallen getting tagged now. Smith's getting naded into oblivion here. 4 G2 players left, and they're all on the A sides.
So this is about to be quite a battle here. Already the nades starting to come in here for Luminosity to make their battle somewhat easier. But can they get those opening frags? G2 are ready and waiting. That grenade's going to miss. What? Nice jump shot coming in from bodyy. What else can he get? Using those barrels to great effect. And that might be enough work because now G2 have a man advantage. They're quite low though. And coldzera is cleaning them up. But Scream comes in. And it's all well. Fallen can't even get a moment to line anything up. Scream is too quick. And that is the follow-up round. The force buy working out for G2. Luminosity, they had the right idea, but they're going up against quite some powerhouses in these French players.
Headshots, Dan.
Headshots.
I believe that's how they say it in France. Headshots. They talk about my headshots. 1-1. Rough start here for Luminosity. They're going to go for the force buy as well. If we see both sides continue to trade, it might get interesting with constant force buys. We'll see if G2 now can take control of the early parts of this map. One person in the B bomb site here, but Luminosity not committed, just taking map control in the numbers. And shox not going to rest on the weapon lead there, pushing all the way to top mid. Going to get a lot of information for his team, but got taken down by coldzera. Again, all these Luminosity players have Kevlar and helmets on top of them, so that MP9 will be a bonus.
Yeah, this is a really cool pressure buy from Luminosity. They're basically saying right now that they're going to keep the pace up. They never want GT to have any money, which is a beautiful statement to make. These are some of the most exciting games. And, well, G2 starting to play a bit passively now. They're a little bit worried having lost a player so early. Shox doing the shoxy, getting himself right up middle there early on in the round, not working out. The bomb is towards tunnels right now for Luminosity, and they're looking to build on this. They've got 3 players in middle, and SmithZz, he's going to be pretty key here because it's going to be a cross, and he hits the shot. Fur is down, and now SmithZz can back away. He's done enough. He's got the information as well.
2 CTs per site. You can see the intentions from Luminosity. They're trying to fake over towards the A bomb site and then move perhaps into a B split. They have a smoke grenade on Fallen, and indeed he's deploying it now. So the true intentions perhaps being shown here. 2 players in the B bomb site. Are they going to be able to hold? Body coming out of a flashbang. 3 players there. He's going to get some damage in, not really get tagged himself. Playing the close quarters now. He's going to be susceptible to pistols there. A nice frag onto FNX though. coldzera coming in from the back. SmithZz still on the site with a USP. There's another headshot for SmithZz. Fallen goes down, and Cold doing what he can. Down to 1 versus 2 now. Massive damage being done here by Luminosity, but can they finish off the job? 12 seconds. The bomb's not going to go down. SmithZz getting loads of frags here.
Yeah, so G2 hold. They win with the force buy, hold the force buy of Luminosity. Now Luminosity have nothing that they can do. They didn't get the bomb down, so they have to save, really. It's the only sensible solution to a situation like this. So G2 get an opportunity to build up some cash, and we're going to see SmithZz going straight onto that AWP. And just as it was noted, he has been doing excellent work so far. He's been making the kills he has to make. And on Dust 2, he's been at his most dangerous on that A side. But let's see how Luminosity play this, because they actually decide to invest here. They're actually not going to full save.
Yeah, again, Luminosity, they did a lot of damage in the previous round, which would explain why they're going for more of a buy on this occasion. You can see the money's all over the place now, but again, I think it was, how many people survived? Maybe 2 in the previous round? Anyway, there's opportunity here for Luminosity, and they're taking a gamble. Maybe with their confidence in the next map, they can afford to do this. biding the time. Again, G2 have gone for loads of pushes, lots of aggression here, and they're trying to exploit that. But again, G2 have had, over this tournament, a very good read on their opponent's economy. So they pick their spots to push very wisely indeed, and they're not going to play into the advantages of these Tech-9s.
But here they come. They're running out of time, so it's time to make the play. The play is going to be the B splits. The Screams play is going to be killing everyone. He's got the M4, 2 frags from him. He's got support, Body's in there, but not for long. Fer will take him down, and that will allow a bomb plant here for Luminosity. They've done damage here. They've got the bomb down, and they can even win the round with this kind of a setup, 2 versus 3. As G2, they're actually quite far away. They've got to wait for the player, which is RPK, to come into the upper dark area, and he's well, I mean, when the bomb went down, he's at T-spawn, so it's going to take a while. When G2 finally go in, they're going to have no time. It's got to go smoothly.
G2 have been really good with meticulous retakes on this map. They have a kit onto Smith, so his position is going to be important if he goes down. There we go, shox. The clock is continuing to tick here. How much can Fer do? He's going to get dipped. The backbang comes in, and he's going to be able to waste time now. Hiding behind. Is that defuse going to come in? They might just about be time here for that defuse. It's going to be close, and there it is. G2 all good in the hood, but again, only surviving with 2 players. But surely now Luminosity have little choice. Actually, they have enough money in the bank because of the plant to go for the buy here, so the pressure is going to continue for Luminosity.
Yeah, they've got 3 rounds lost in a row, so that loss bonus is building up. And the AWP is going to be straight in the hands of coldzera. He saved a lot of money in the previous round, actually, $2,700, whilst the rest of his teammates even bought fully. So he's got the big green gun, but what can he do with it? So he's going to be up against Smith, but Smith typically has been quite defensive when it comes to his approach to the start of rounds on Dust 2. We very rarely see him attacking middle. He typically now these days only does it when he feels like the other team doesn't have an AWP to challenge him. Maybe just AKs or a low economy, something like that. So right now G2 are going to be expressing just what James mentioned, which is that patience, that clinical discipline that has been working out so well for them so far in this tournament. But looks like Luminosity might be setting up a play here. I believe that's the Xbox smoke, and that's going to allow them to take over Catwalk and start to develop a play.
shox is being very, very active around the map. Definitely a man to watch on this CT side. They have a lot of defaults, the G2 side. One of them is when shox plays over towards Goose, which he was in earlier. You can often find him going towards CT spawn as well. And now he's all the way over towards long, trying to get a read on what Luminosity might be planning. And it seems G2 will try to hold on to the long position, worst case scenario here, as short's been somewhat abandoned. But we've seen SmithZz power from that car position, stopping plays over towards short. And you can see he's changed up his position as well. He's close to the wall there, which will help him avoid flashbangs, as they will be targeted a little bit deeper, expecting him to be towards car. 45 seconds left on the clock now. Luminosity's got 4 of their 5 players on short for maybe going for a late flank here towards long.
The crazy thing is that G2 have kind of gambled with a setup like this, that they don't have almost anyone in B. It's just 1 player. It's going to be 4 players defending this push, and that's something Luminosity don't know because they didn't play the information too much. And SmithZz, he's going to miss the first shot. The flashes are in. There's the first connection from SmithZz. What else is he going to be able to find from this position? He's going in right now. He's not even playing defensive. He's got so much support. He's straight in for the defense here, but he's not quite connecting, and Luminosity are slowly getting onto that bomb plant. But there are so many CTs. Not a single one has been taken down just yet. This is absolutely mental. We've got SmithZz there, sitting on the slope, waiting patiently for his teammates to arrive. And arrive they will. And the frags will start to come in. Fallen, push to the defense here on this crate. And he's going to get dinked here from the side. Body with the frag. And now it's going to be on coldzera and Fer. And Fer needs to get something done here from the flank. But it's a plan for sure. Fer is coming though, and it's just Body left. But for how long? There it is. Cole finally comes in with the AWP. And that really looks strong for the CTs.
Speaking of patience, Fer was standing outside long for ages. There were 3 CTs on long. He let them push the site. coldzera was just watching his back on short. He knows Fer is the money man there, taking players down. This is the 3rd kill he's going for here in the round. Very strong stuff by Luminosity. G2 with the numbers over towards A, but it still wasn't enough because Fer and co just waited long enough to allow them to be distracted elsewhere. And then the lethal kills came in. And look what it's done to the G2 economy. Those force buys, those half buys from Luminosity earlier on have broken the money for G2 immediately.
And that's the classic SmithZz play. Flash over the top, peek mid with a sniper rifle.
Yeah, he can do it with a scout because of the mobility when you're scoped in. Can't really do it with the AWP anymore since it was nerfed. Can't go for those crouch peeks. So it's a lot riskier because you move a lot slower once you're scoped in with the big green gun. Body's taking some initial damage. 3 players of Kevlar here, a bunch of Deagles as well. Deagles have been dangerous. Speaking of which, Body taking Fallen face first.
Yeah, Deagles for days. And Luminosity likely just going to go for that A-long play now. It's one of the safest kind of force buy type strategies. When there's a few dangerous pistols or weapons, you can just get your back against that wall altogether, play the trades, use grenades very effectively, and get onto the site pretty quick. And it looks like G2 have spotted this. They know what's going on. They're going to be pushing dark now. So if Luminosity are slow, they might get caught. But actually, it looks like they've realized that they've given away too much information. They're going to double back. Oh, but Scream's there with the AK. And this is a problem now for Luminosity because they got 40 seconds. But which side do they go to?
Yeah, they might get into panic mode here. It's time to gamble for the Brazilians. Man down. Scream could be over to the left. It could be over to the right. Could be in low tunnel. There could be people in mid. There are a lot of problems here for Luminosity, and they're going to need these duels to win. Cold's on the AWP. Very capable as well. Look how slow they're willing to play the clock. 20 seconds, and they need to go for the wall. For the raw peak here. Body's position is going to be crucial as well. Oh, Smith with 2! What is that? Smith, where is he? He's coming in from the back. And that's going to be ruined the round for Luminosity. That is a brutal double headshot here from the Frenchman.
Yeah, why not? Jumping double headshot. Thank you very much, Smith. I'm sure Scream's going to be thanking him because when Scream peaked, it looked like with the patience we were talking about all day, finally, it gave up a little bit. He peaked prematurely, but this shot, oh my God, that is ridiculous.
Stop the violence and votes. That's all I can say to that. Back and forth we go with these rounds, and Luminosity reduced to the pistols now. It's their turn. Only Taco will have Kevlar on helmet for this round. Then you can see G2 are armed to the teeth. So this shouldn't go well. That said, that's a very good start there for coldzera. No one to respond. Got some HGs coming in. The gun will be taken away, thrown to Taco with that Kevlar as well. FNX getting taken down by bodyy elsewhere. And we go down to a 4 versus 4. Again, Taco going to be looking for some raw peaks here. There are no grenades on this T side at the moment. He just needs to simply win a duel, get an opening here for Luminosity.
This has been actually a very dirty game so far. A lot of crazy action, and Taco with that M4 that he's picked up is causing quite some havoc here for the G2 side. They're going to have to rotate quickly now, but there's a player in mid with it's Cold with that Tech 9. He's going to take down Smith, and that's an AWP now on Cold, potentially. I think it can be denied, but shox has to defend it. It gets completely destroyed by Taco's pistol, and now it's just down to RPK 1 versus 4. That's a tough situation. Even though only one of them had Kevlar, coldzera causing problems there in middle, that Tech 9. And yeah, this game is scrappy. That is one way to describe it so far. 4-3 now as Luminosity bring another round back, and because it's been so scrappy, G2 don't have any money really to buy with in this round.
Indeed, it's always going to be more expensive for the CTs to full buy over the Ts. You can get more scrappier buys in, but that wasn't even a buy. It was some mere pistols. Only one player had armor. This is absurd. Only a 1-round lead now for G2, and again, they should lose the round. They should lose the round because they're fighting with pots and pans at the moment against the full-equipped Luminosity.
shox has the deagle, James. That's the win condition.
Indeed. The good thing for Luminosity is there's only one deagle in play at the moment. We have seen some rounds of more, and it caused lots and lots of problems. And again, Luminosity waiting for that patented aggression from G2. 3 players over towards long now. Again, shox and Co being very, very active all over the map, trying to get a read, trying to react before the action happens here for Luminosity. See Fur using the ranges here, making sure the CTs aren't in any sneaky positions. Got to be careful on short. There is a blind spot on the corner of that wall as well. Slowly but surely, Luminosity will move towards one of these sites. And again, you can see G2 being active now. Not getting any action towards long, although that fire will attract them like a moth to a flame.
Yeah, I like how G2 have been very good this tournament at playing preemptively, just as you say, they kind of react before stuff happens, even in very slow drawn-out rounds where they have very limited information. That said, coldzera is going to find himself 2 tasty morsels, and he is going to consume them. And it's going to be down to shox here, but he's got a lot of players to shoot! There's one! What else can shox do in this position? That deagle, he gets another one! That is criminal. shox is able to just shoot so many bullets, and that is going to happen. Sure, Luminosity still very, very likely to win the round. It's pretty much guaranteed at this point, considering where the remaining G2 players are. But that is some good damage with the deagle.
There's a lot shox can do with 7 bullets in a magazine. The hand cannon is real. Not much for G2 to do at this point. Play for some exits. There are 2 weapons down on the map, although over towards the platform, going to be hard to retrieve. Scream's given his position away by that failed jump now, although he can still get some damage in here. Very tricky to have this kind of duel, and Taco may not fancy it and move back towards the site. So the score is about to be tied up between these two sides. That's a handy Molotov to allow them to rotate towards long. Again, that bomb explosion actually might send those guns towards G2, so maybe they can rescue something yet. Maybe you can see one flying into the hands of Scream there. So something is salvaged in this round for G2.
And that's actually a really big deal, because it's Scream getting an AK, getting the one-shot machine. The one-shot machine on the one-shot machine. Indeed. So let's see if that's gonna, play a part in the future, because obviously the rest of G2, the buy, for some of these players wasn't amazing. Got too famous just to have enough grenades on RPK and Body. Scream with the AK, all back on the Smiths, and I'm quite curious to see if we have a mix-up of the setup. So far, it looks very standard here from G2. Pretty much the usual play. 3 towards long at the start of the round, then fanning back out. Got 2 on B, but Fallen's found himself in a forward position. This could be dangerous, but G2 are going to realize that this is a possibility, and they shouldn't be peeking. And it is an interesting setup for Luminosity to have 2 AWPs on the T side. Should mean that they play slow, but Fallen's going for the creep.
Yeah, this is a standard crossfire situation where a teammate can cover his back from the left as well. Nice opening frag there on Scream, and Body's in a lot of trouble. He's got a smoke though. That is a very important grenade to have right now, and he may slow things down. Upgrades to the AK as well. But there's still lots of time here for Luminosity to play with. You can see the angle that Fallen was holding on the platform. If you jump onto that platform, even if you're crouching, you can't hide until you get on the other side of the bridge there. It's a common angle if you have a good spawn for AWPers to try and hold. So, 55 seconds. That smoke will obscure, jumps onto short. Now G2 don't really have much information. Luminosity being very quiet, and shox is going to have to try and take a gamble on which side Luminosity are playing for. Luminosity still with a player in T-spawn at the moment, so they could be going for a similar play over towards A with a very late flank from long.
It is all about to begin here, and G2 with that disadvantage. It's going to be tough for them. They have a man on Goose, and that's the key position in this kind of a play to defend with. And Smith, well, he's been good all tournament. It's going to continue right here, opening things up onto Taco. shox biding his time by Goose. Smith has to keep the pressure up. The distraction needs to be real here. And shox goes for the spray! 2 players down, and the bomb is going to fall with them as Cold has to go for the refrag. He's going to get it, but he's alone against 2.
And he's run out of time here, and Cold will die after the clock, and the AWP is stolen. That is one of the defaults we mentioned earlier. shox just allowing Smith to be the bait. Now, there is a smoke on the T side, commonly referred to by other teams as the Fnatic smoke, which goes on the top of ramp. It was used to be in the meta, and you can see Smith's abused that position playing close to the wall there, where that smoke would have obscured him, and he would have had to be jumping or standing on the car, which makes it very telegraphed as to where he might be. Smith's has been unstoppable from the car position this entire tournament. No one can seem to deal with him.
Oh yeah, and the difference is made there by him hitting that first shot, because that means that there's too few players that take engagements to get the bomb down, which means it's much less likely they're going to check for shox. If no one dies by the time they get to Goose, shox is definitely not going to have such an easy time there. So it's all about the team play. Everyone is helping each other out and putting each other into positions to make the plays. And if you got shox in the position, if you set him up with the layup, he's going to dunk it every time. And now it's going to be Luminosity. Bit of a faster round here, looking to take mid control. Looks like they want a straight up B split with a lot of focus in towards that middle area.
But again, shox being very active. He's everywhere. CT spawn, A, long, all over the place. Currently in CT spawn. And he will hear some sound cues from Luminosity as they move around. You can see moving back towards A now, just as Luminosity are setting up. And again, if you are expecting an AWPer on the site, something Guardian will do, for example, is stand on those bricks on short. So if there is an AWPer there, he's going to get legged, and shox's position would allow somebody to punish, would allow him to punish someone who's doing that. And indeed, Fallen looking for some openings now towards B. Scream coming in for a late peek though. FNX though will take down shox elsewhere.
And all the action begins over towards the B side. Body has to pull out the pistol, but so far he's going to get 1 frag. And in doing so, he's given his team a chance to get the retake going, but this could be problematic here. RPK has that lurking player towards him in that tunnels position. He does spot him though with the FAMAS, and that was very important. Now the retake can actually be on, but will he expect yet another player to be in the tunnels with a very dirty off angle? And also, not only that, it's Fallen with the AWP, so this should be almost impossible to deal with. Fallen's going to hit the shot straight away, and that is going to just completely close down the chances for G2 to get a retake happening here. So another round for Luminosity. This is such an action-packed game, so backwards and forwards.
Yeah, there isn't much indication at the moment as to who's going to take a significant lead here on Dust 2. Two evenly matched teams. Again, G2 going from strength to strength. Really don't know where their ceiling is in the short term right now. They're just beasting everyone at the moment. But again, perhaps they have met their match on this map, and G2's T side is yet to come. But first, we've got the last 5 rounds of the first half. Orps coming out again. One on both sides. Saved from the previous round here for SmithZz. Not much his team can do around this AWP. So I do wonder if we're going to see some rapid aggression here from SmithZz. He needs to get some early advantages for his team, and indeed, he's going for these peaks now, these patented flashbangs and such. Fallen trying to get out of dodge in time, and SmithZz didn't go for the peak there. The second flash comes in. He has support from a teammate as well. And if he held his angle but through to the lower doors, he would have taken Fur out immediately. There we go, Fur asking questions now.
I think one of the reasons he backs away there is because it's quite late and there can be players coming close, so he's really trying to play it safe. Perhaps wants that up into the next round, and shox has got a deagle, so there is always hope here for G2. Now, he is lurking around there by Cat. We're looking to see if he can get lucky, but will it be his lucky day? Looks like he's not going to try to push things. He's going to let it happen more organically. Won't force the issue. He's going to be a SmithZz and RpK now in middle, looking for any aggression from Luminosity, but they are playing it slow. They're really trying to bait out some response from a very poorly equipped G2, and they know they're poorly equipped. They know that they might do something desperate.
Look at this read from G2, putting 4 people in the B bomb site. And this is really interesting because SmithZz is going to have the initial angle, and often you'll find that maybe an AWPer in this situation, an AWPer is going to be on one site and everybody else will stack the other. So it might be that if there's an engagement with SmithZz here, Luminosity might think that SmithZz is the only person on the site and a rush in, and then you've got RpK at close quarters, Scream as well, lots of distractions, bodyy can pop up as well. And bodyy doing more work with the deagles and more pistols come out. And there isn't time really for Luminosity to rotate over towards the A site. There are 20 seconds here. They're pretty much committed to the B bomb site. This could go horribly wrong, and it is. Only 2 players left now for the T side. Fallen FNX trying to put in work, but they've got 14 seconds to plant the bomb here. 2 players left now. Pre-fire coming in from Fallen, but it's not enough. FNX is 1 deag away. He needs to take down Scream. He's got 5 seconds to do it. The smoke fails. He's coming in for the spray. 2 seconds. He's going to get a kill here. The Glock is not enough. Scream wins an unlikely round here for G2.
That got really weird. I mean, those kills, those opening kills, they hadn't even seen SmithZz yet. He was the trap. They were the bait, and eventually when SmithZz actually did get seen, he gets immediately headshotted, of course, by FNX. But what a crazy round. And now it's a 6-5. It's just so crazy. I can't even imagine where this is going to end up after all is said and done. Now, of course, Luminosity, they don't really have much to work with, and not getting that bomb down is really going to hurt their ability to do anything in this round, which they would have had to have saved regardless on. So just a couple Tech 9s, and so far, looks like body's just going to get, free one through the smoke, just as you do. shox now is going to get a bit of a challenge. There should be one that, well, looks like Scream's going to steal all the frags away. So that's pretty much it here in this round for Luminosity. I think that's the only clean round that we've had so far.
Yeah, that's a very important round for G2. Their economy will still be fragile, but there are very few rounds left in this half. We'll see if Luminosity can close the gap once again. You can see they're feeling the struggle here. It's not easy for either side. Good, tense match coming in here. So we've got 4 AKs and FNX down to the UMP. Luminosity limited on the grenades at the moment. I do wonder if that's going to make for a faster round from them.
This is really
up in the boost, and he's got the silence M4 as well, which is more important than having a M4, A4, more bullets, but to give your position away. So perhaps if a split comes in, of which, Luminosity, they like to go through these middle doors here and at least propose a B split to the CT. Scream might have something to say about that.
Yeah, this is this style of play that we've seen from G2, where they can sometimes stack 3 players towards B and have this kind of setup towards A. This is actually something that Astralis used to do when they were pretty much the best Dust 2 team in the world. That they would actually play like this, and it was a strategy that they kind of tried out for a while, and they couldn't get it to be too consistent. It's kind of gambly, but if you have a really good read on your opponent, then this is something that's very tricky, because the whole point of it is that it kind of makes it look like you're weaker on the site that you're actually stacked on. That's kind of the point about it, if Luminosity were to take the normal routes to gain information. That's why it's such a cool way to play this map, and so far it has been working out for G2, and they've been so good at preemptively understanding where to rotate, but this round they may not even have to, depending on if Luminosity really commit to the A play, which does look likely at this point. but breaking long is going to be really next to impossible for Taco. Luminosity's main push on short has to work. coldzera, this push has to work, but Scream is there on the box.
Ooh, we have maybe some surprise strategies coming in there. coldzera in CT spawn at the moment, but SmithZz again is delivering here for his team. Going to get caught by his own flashbang, but long and secure. Doesn't need to watch his back, but again, we've got a push coming in on ramp now, and loads of flashbangs onto both sides. The push is going to be slow. Cole coming in from the bottom, 2 kills for him. Finally traded by bodyy. shox holding on to the long position. Man, disadvantage now. We've got bodyy rotating towards the short position. All the Luminosity players on the site, they need to hit their shots here, otherwise they're going to be in trouble. Nowhere for them to hide. shox goes down, 3 versus 1 now, and body's going to be in a lot of trouble. Fallen going to pick up the AWP, and he's coming back. So it seems they have a read as to where bodyy is at the moment, and Fallen will finish things off. The gap closes once more.
Yeah, and that's a really nice display there from Luminosity. Just really connecting with those entry frags, and also, SmithZz not really having the impact that he had in the previous rounds, and you can see why. coldzera is able to push through CT as he did, and that was the main problem. Cold coming in from CT. Had Cold been shut down by Scream and CT, had Scream won that 1 versus 1, then the round is likely won as well for G2. So coming down to very small margins, these rounds between these two teams, and G2 with another buy, and it looks okay, but they're really lacking utility. That's where they're weak, and it's going to be cool to see how they adjust to that, because they've actually shown that they are quite adjustable, very much depending on the situation. They're not really a static team so far, and especially on a map like Dust 2.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of B pushes from the G2 side in this tournament. Perhaps they're giving Luminosity some more respect. bodyy goes for a peek. He seeks and he shall find the AWP of Fallen straight in his chest. Early advantage here for Luminosity.
Yeah, that's going to be really painful for G2, because they are going to want to take an aggression somewhere, or they want to take a gamble and go the opposite way. Instead of taking an aggression for information and then maybe a kill, the gamble is that you want to stack somewhere and then you play for the safe. So it's kind of the more passive and more safe option of the two. And typically that's going to be more important if you're not too worried about or if you're worried about your economy and so on. But it's so late into this half that I feel like G2 just want to get the rounds on the board. And right now, they actually have the 3 players on the right side of the map, and SmithZz going to open up well. Now it's down to shox. He's doing a good job here. Pulls back away from the barrels with a frag to boot. 4 versus 3 now for G2. They are looking very strong, and Luminosity are going to change their mind as to which site they want to attack with 30 seconds left.
Indeed, SmithZz has been such a problem. We've got a catch-up coming in from shox. He's going to get punished by Fallen, so now Scream has a lot to do, but we've seen him hold sites on his own before. So far, so good. 1 kill coming in, 2 more people to find. Playing it slow, almost a 2-man spray down here. Taco versus 2 now. RpK and SmithZz coming in from the ramp position. Is he going to force the issue? Taco picking up the AWP. Might make it hard not to get traded straight in the face. RpK will take him down. Another round in the back here for G2. An expensive round, but a round nonetheless. And they pick up 2 AWPs.
Yeah, and that was a very doable clutch for Taco, but it seemed like he just misread how close those players could be. And so you can see the good work here from Scream, where he almost got 3 frags by himself on the bomb site. And that also tells you that, Luminosity in most situations, if they have time, if they feel comfortable, they're going to be able to coordinate into that bomb site so that they can trade just immediately, maximum losing maybe 1 player. And in that situation, they had time against them. They had the rotation against them as well. They needed to get out of the open, so they just kind of ran in 1 by 1. And that was the perfect storm for Scream to abuse. And now, Luminosity in the last round of this first half, they're going to be on 3 Tech 9s, bunch of grenades, and a couple AKs. So what is the play for them? It's going to be tough no matter what.
Indeed, Luminosity have a lot of nades in the bag to play with here. They can execute, but it's not going to be easy. 2 rifles on 5 players. They've made things work with less. bodyy holding an angle with the AWP now. And bad times are ahead. They are running the gauntlet here. 2 for 2 so far for bodyy. Misses the 3rd shot. Got support as well, but he is definitely on fire. Can't put himself out in time. Scream trying to hold things down, but he's going to be the one to get headshot. Now it's a man advantage here for Luminosity, and these nades will come in handy. Double smoke's coming out, and the bomb plant should come in soon. G2 coming in for the rotation here. Again, both players coming in from the ramp. SmithZz going for the pop flash. RpK will have to put in massive work here.
RpK is ready though, he's going to get flashed in. It's on this entry, can he find anyone? No! It's down to FNX, he's going to easily deliver the frag. And SmithZz trying to force his way in with the crowbar. That is the AWP. but it's not going to happen, and it's going to instead be a round for Luminosity for an 8-7 half. 8 to G2, 7 to Luminosity. This was such a back and forth half. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, there's nothing between these two sides. coldzera up there with 17 kills for him, for his team. And bodyy is on the same, actually, on the T side. So again, we said bodyy had to show up, and he is top fragging for the Frenchman. That's going to be really important. Everybody is here for both sides. Pistol round in the second half now. Who's going to take the early advantage here? May not last long, based on the way the first half went.
Absolutely. It's been very, very nice to see how close these two teams are playing on Dust 2. Now G2 are going to be moving into tunnels pretty rapidly. Looks like they've been looking at the matchmaking playbook, but Taco is going to find himself a headshot. shox is dead. Who else is going to fall before the bomb goes down? It looks like it's going to be a Cold who's going to fall there. And that's going to be a 4 versus 4 situation on the retake. And there is a kid on Fallen, but can Scream hold the back? Looks like he's doing a good job so far.
2 more people to find, and there's nothing but headshots coming in. Go for the burst fire, not going to work out, so Fail survives that one. Man advantage here for the T's. It's not going to be an easy retake here. Crossfire coming in from the door, Smith's jumping, and they're going to force the issue here. 3 versus 1, very smart play by G2. Now they can use those numbers against Fer as well. He's got himself 1 headshot, but he won't get any more. G2 take the pistol. What is going to be the response here from Luminosity? They can go for the force buy, but on the CT side, maybe that's less favorable for them. They're going to go for it regardless, though. We've got a scout coming out, being thrown over to none other than Fallen.
I remember when they just started kind of reinforcing their Dust 2 game, Luminosity, and we would often see them actually go for plays like this, always getting that scout onto Fallen no matter what. And they've actually saved about $1,000 on 2 players, so they are planning ahead a little bit as well. But let's see if how much damage they can do with what they have invested in. And you can see Fallen's going for the challenge against Smith, and he's going to hit the headshot. Smith will get buried by Fallen, and now body's going to go for the information play with the rest of his team. But we have all of Luminosity present. And they're going to be taking the frags in. This is catastrophic so far for G2. It's all left to 1 man, but that is the man that you want for G2. He's got plenty of time, but only a Mac 10 and a bunch of guns have been collected, as well as the bomb for Luminosity.
FNX with a very nice angle there. Luminosity going full Sergeant Dokes on the B-bomb site. Nasty surprise there for G2, and again we trade rounds there. G2 now have a decision to make. Are they going to continue the force buy shenanigans, or will they? Nope, they're going to come in for the force buy. So we'll continue. Smith's picking up a scout, a bunch of pistols being picked up as well. 9 to 8, nothing between these two sides. G2 desperately trying to hold on to their narrow lead. AK, the M4's coming out for Luminosity as well. Tons of utility. But again, we saw this in the first half, and the CT's lost this round.
Absolutely, but maybe this time it could be different. Fer doing the shoxy, will it work against shoxy? We'll see, because he's going to go in right now with the M4. There's the first frag. He's going to back away now. He knows they're going to try to trade against him, and he'll easily get the second frag. He's done enough work. He's got the information. 1 for 2, that's okay for Luminosity. Now they can sit back. They've thinned out the push enough, and it's going to be very, very hard for G2 to get in. But again, they've got a deagle on not just shox, but Scream as well. And Smith, who has been pretty on point this tournament, he's got a scout. So I would say that this is definitely quite a doable round for G2. They have got Kevlars as well.
Importantly for Luminosity, G2 didn't try to pick up the M4 in mid, and that might be something that Luminosity tried to protect. Although that smoke's definitely not going to help, and you can see Scream instantly goes to pick up the M4. Bearing in mind, 2 of these players have Kevlar. That's a dangerous weapon now in the hands of G2. They've got the time to play with as well. 50 seconds on the clock here. 2 people to watch long, and Scream's going to think otherwise about that one. So where do these G2 players go? They've got 2 flashes and a Molotov. They can use them to try and make a gauntlet run over towards the A site, try and get the bomb down, worst case scenario. The opportunity knocks here for the Frenchman. Got Fallen holding an angle towards the car with the scout. And we've got a flank coming in from Luminosity, but will it come fast enough?
Here it is, they're going to go for it, and Fallen will be able to get the scout shot off there, but he's not getting the killing blows, and that is a problem right now, because that's going to mean the money has now been secured of the bomb plant. An additional $800 for every player on the T side, but jumping there is not going to be too easy there for Smith. He will get taken out, but here is Scream with the M4, also going down pretty easily, but shox still alive, still with a deagle and still causing problems, but eventually silenced by Taco, and the round can be won by Luminosity. But for G2 to get an extra frag and a bomb plant when they were 3 versus 5. That is definitely a pretty impressive result, I should say.
Very important point at the end there on long. Luminosity stands at the end of long, and they see the scout jumping on the site. They stand and they wait so they can double peek at the same angle. That scout comes up and gets absolutely wrecked. We saw in previous rounds what damage a scout can do if you're running around and trying to get closer to the site there. So they just wait patiently. They have the time to do it, and it pays off for them. 9-9 now. And G2 are going to be on $2.5K to $3,000. So it's time for an eco here. And it's a pretty hard eco. There is a deagle onto screen, but not much else going on here for the G2 side. Some flashes and a smoke. And again, Fur just doing Fur things.
He's got the M4 as well. We saw it last time. Last time it was 2 frags for him. This time he's going to try and get a better score, and it's looking pretty good. It looks like it's actually going to be equalized, but FNX is there to try to help out. Flash over the top, can't actually get an extra frag here, but they are kind of stuck behind that wall. FNX, though, doesn't want to bite off more than he can chew. Playing it safe, waiting for teammates to come in before he savagely destroys the remainder of the lineup. And that's going to be an easy cleanup of the eco for just the cost of a single man. That is a bargain if I've ever seen one. And G2 will be able to get the buy-in at this point. But James, so far, both halves have actually mirrored each other. Each team has won the pistol round, then they lost the force buy to the force buy in the next round. And if the trend continues, we should see a lost round here for Luminosity.
Double orbs for the CT side. And it was really nice how they only lost 1 player there, got loads of information and cleaned up the mess of G2 players that remained in Fur. On the buy round, Fur cares not. One of the most interesting players to watch with any weapon in the game here. Up to yet more shenanigans. RpK going to get caught unawares, but Fur doesn't want to overextend this time. Scream with a pre-fire, and Fur will run straight into it. Early advantage here for G2. Pushing towards long now. There's only 1 player to defend there, but it's Fallen. Looking over the smoke. There's a wall of smokes coming in there for the T side. Almost hitting the mark there, but the spray down will be real. Scream with 2 kills now.
Yeah, this is getting really bad for Luminosity. FNX will take an aggressive position by the car. They feel like they cleaned it out, and, well, they definitely have. Great Molotov forces FNX into the open. Can he escape? He gets 1 frag, but that's all he can do. He cannot reach the safe haven that would have been the elevator area, and it's going to be Taco now trying to equalize things. Gets the engagement, gets to perfect 1-on-1, even has the edge on the timing, but RpK will be the victor of that battle, and now Cole is just in a position where he has to save the AWP. And G2, I mean, their economy's not amazing, but they can definitely invest in killing him.
coldzera running through upper tunnel. shox is in B. I don't know how the hell he got there, but shox is in B while the rest of his team are on A, and I'm pretty sure he heard coldzera running. Look at the positioning now of G2 before the bomb's even gone down. You've got RpK top mid, shox coming in for the flank.
Yeah, they're waiting.
It doesn't look like this AWP is being saved unless Cold goes absolutely nuclear here. Again, it's great to see the confidence of to push absolutely regardless, and indeed, nasty surprise coming in. And that surprise is shox. He's been lurking all over the shop, and it's working well so far. Both teams make it to double figures now. But again, that previous round, Luminosity surviving with 4 players allows them to buy once again. Orb coming straight out onto coldzera. Look at that pre-fire, that's glorious. Wow. And again, Scream. Fallen fired 1 too many shots there, and he gets punished for doing so. Double ops once again. Luminosity coming straight back with a big buy. This might take G2 by surprise.
So if the trend continues, James, which it has so far, now Luminosity should win a round. So just, you know, this is our guide. We'll see if it actually ends up working out all the way to the end. We've got shox there looking for that initial engagement. Again, it's so important not to try and challenge an Oppa there. If he's already holding the angle, he's got a better spawn than you, use the grenades. That's a cost of, they use $500 there to make sure that no one dies. $500 to save a life. Now it's going to be down to Luminosity to just play a bit dynamically with these orbs, because if they play too statically, G2 are very, very good against static teams because they get the entry frag so quickly. You want to try to disrupt G2 before they can get their plans going. I mean, we saw NIP having problems with just that situation, that they could not disrupt G2 before it was too late.
Luminosity playing some blind spots, and that Mag 7 will not be susceptible to the Molotovs. Great smoke coming in just to try and ruin the timing, ruin the intentions of the G2 players, should they have chosen to push there. 50 seconds on the clock. And they could go for a B split. They still got smokes and flashes, but they haven't really gone for any investigation towards mid just yet. So it might turn into a lurk instead of a split. We will see. The numbers are coming in, but coldzera is moving towards mid at the wrong timing here. Taco could get traded. He's got nobody to help him. He can't get a second shot on either. coldzera going for a peek, not finding anybody, and they're forced out of the site. This could be a saver in this situation. for the Luminosity players once this bomb goes down, and indeed, they have abandoned ship immediately. Very smart play by the Brazilians.
So unless Luminosity can, well, somehow win the round by hiding on A, which is not going to happen, the trend has been broken. The mirror has been smashed. It's been smashed by G2. Now, it's going to be really cool to see with the setup that they have, if they can survive with 4 players, whether or not they'll actually go for aggression in the next round. Because G2 showed us in their previous matches that they're really good in the early and mid round at actually catching teams off when they're trying to play for aggressions. They seem to have a second sense at the moment for just reading when it's going to happen and where it's going to happen from. So I'd be curious to see, because it would be a good round for Luminosity to try to do something like that. But we've got 4 ops on the server, which is really cool to see. That is some really exciting Dust 2. We used to always get it in the old days with Fnatic versus NIP every time, and it was always a great game to watch. And this one is absolutely just so far delivering.
Yep, still nothing between these two teams. And the interesting thing is, because Luminosity save with 4 players, even if they lose this particular round, their loss bonus will be better once they lose all their weapons, which means they can get back into the game sooner rather than later. That said, there's only so many more rounds that either of these teams can lose in this situation. Both teams high on the utility here, and again, as Dan said, there are 4 orbs still on the server at the moment. coldzera, I think he should have just spotted shox getting into position here, and the team are going to walk in with the orb behind them. Who's going to get first frag though? That meaty Max 7 coming in, Scream gets told to sit down, so does RpK. Third will be the only response right now for G2.
Here goes shox. He's got Tacio that I'm not sure if he for sure saw across there, but he might suspect it. His game sense is off the charts, and here they come. Oh, they don't realize shox is there. First shot connects the no-scope as well. And shox is going to decimate the remainder of Luminosity. Just coldzera left, and he's got that orb now. He's got a challenge as well coming in. Does he want anything to do with it? Looks like he doesn't. Going to back away there, and the bomb can safely make its way towards A, where there is bodyy just waiting, and bodyy has been having a fantastic game so far. He's actually top fragging along with Scream. And I think was it you or somebody on the desk? Somebody said bodyy needs to step things up. I think it was you. And well, he's done just that here in this Dust 2 match.
Indeed, Luminosity took a gamble there, and it just completely annihilated the round for them. Unfortunately for Luminosity, so G2 gonna hit 12 rounds now. Cold, maybe in a good spot to save this weapon actually. That said, there's a reasonable amount of money here for G2, so they may actually go for the hunt. I think that's reasonably likely once they realize that Cold is not going for the clutch play here. So G2 going to pull away from Luminosity a little bit, but again, their loss bonus is higher than it would have been if they went for that B play in the previous round. So we'll see what they choose to do. The money's not going to be spectacular by any means.
And one thing that's scary here with this hunting situation is just this, is that 2 of the 3 players on G2 who wanted to hunt, 2 of them had orbs. So actually they can stand to lose quite a lot of money if that happens, if just that happens. But that's fantastic work from bodyy. Manages to find his way back around B, catches his opponent on the flank and picks up the orb. So the orb, I think, was saved. It's on the floor for shox. shox and Smith will continue with the AWPs. Actually, yeah, RpK will toss it over to shox. And the shenanigans with the orbs will continue, but won't be orb versus orb in this round. We've got Luminosity on a save round, so a couple deagles, or just 8 deagles so far for them. 5-7, P250s, couple HGs, not really anything to speak of to work with.
Yeah, but this has been enough on multiple rounds here, Dan, between these two teams. So we'll see if Luminosity can pull back once again. And how G2 will try to identify where these players are. Might be a bit more difficult on this map than some others. 3 people over towards B at the moment for the CTs. G2 going to play the clock. They've got tons of utility, 5 smokes, an army of flashbangs, still a few Molotovs here to try and force these CTs out of position or to limit their position. With no Kevlar, it's going to be a tough round for Luminosity overall. Minute on the clock here. G2 still have loads of time to play with. coldzera will hear the scope. And he'll be smoked off, so he can't make use of his blind spot there in the corner. G2 taking the standard map control. Again, using those Molotovs to make sure there are no CTs in those close quarters positions. And soon they will be executing onto one of these sites. FNX looking to drop a timely HE. We've still got 2 HEs in play here for the CT side. Are they going to be deployed? One has, and there's been some damage here to the G2 players. Luminosity still have people alive to do some damage with the 5-7s, and here we go. Man advantage soon disappears for suddenly left alone here. Too many people to aim at. G2 will survive with 3.
Luminosity actually did a lot of damage there. They could easily have killed a couple more players. That is kind of crazy. Now 13-10 as expected in the previous round, definitely was very favorable for G2, of course. And now it looks like we might get actually a tactical from Luminosity, which is the timely place to actually run that. They are on the CT side, so it is harder to get as much value out of a tactical, but they certainly have a lot to discuss. And we have 4 orbs on the server again, so this is going to be exciting.
Luminosity will feel like they have a very good chance at a 2-0 if they can take Dust 2, so this is a very important time for them. If G2 win Dust 2, then who knows what is going to happen in this series. Once again, we have 4 AWPs on the server here, 2 per side. These will be somewhat limited for Luminosity. And you have to wonder what G2 are going to think about this. Maybe this will cause them to have a passive start to the next round. Obviously, with 2 AWPs per side, you're likely to get passivity anyway, rather than some fast plays. Luminosity, though, could go for a boost onto short, for example, with one of these AWPs. So it's going to be a curious round for both teams as to what they do in the initial 30 seconds.
And the crazy thing as well is that, I mean, just how good Overpass looked for G2 earlier today. I mean, sure, I knew they could play Overpass, but play it like that, I can't wait to see how that actually transpires in the end, because Luminosity might get quite shocked, but maybe not as much as Fnatic, because clearly that was, Fnatic definitely didn't expect it either.
Yeah, I thought that was an unusual map pick between those 2 teams, but Luminosity are absolute beasts. You saw what they did to Na'Vi at the last major.
They're the end boss, right, of Overpass.
They are the final boss of Overpass at the moment, that is for sure, but we'll get to that soon, or maybe we won't. We'll see what transpires between these 2 sides. You can see good vibes in the camp over at G2. shox will be making sure that his team are focused. They have a 3-round lead at the moment, but they are by no means over the line.
It's a lot to think about here for G2, because they need to assess the options of Luminosity, right? And Luminosity with 2 orbs. I mean, G2 don't know that they're going to play that style just yet. Of course, Luminosity are very, very well known to pull that out of the bag. Very commonly on train, we saw it in this tournament, how incredibly good it was.
That poor guy. Welcome to the internet, sir. So 5 seconds before this round starts, 3-round lead for G2. What do Luminosity have in store? What is G2's reaction going to be to this pause? Is it going to be fast aggression, or are they going to wait to see if Luminosity go for a gamble here? And there will be no gamble for Luminosity, a standard 2-1-2. Again, G2 with very early positioning around those long doors there. Not really going to get too deep, just in case Luminosity have tricks up their sleeve. The crowd are shaking the entire stage at the moment. I feel the rumbles under my feet.
Fall to pieces. All right, it's going to be just a quick little bit of presence there from RPK in towards long doors. First sign to get some information. First position is very important for that reason. And it does look like G2 want to set up this A split. And Luminosity are very spread out. They're not going to be well tooled up to deal with a split unless Fallen can hit his shots from car. And if G2 can disable Fallen with the proper use of flashbangs and smokes, if they truly do go for this A split and make Fallen's life difficult, then it's going to be really, really good for G2 to get on that bomb site, because Fallen is basically the only man to do anything. So that is the major point we need to look for. But G2, they're taking their time a little bit. There are some smokes down.
Look at the lack of utility here for the CT side. They have a few flashbangs, but that's about it. They need to come in with the hard, raw kills here. That's a good start. Fallen's going to deliver just as Smith did in the first half. There are more G2 players coming slowly but surely, but shox takes down Fallen. Fern was in position, he'll trade at least. 2 versus 4 now, lots for G2 to do.
They can get onto the site though and get the bomb planted, and that's one of the most important things here. G2 securing an extra bank, but can they clutch? bodyy has been on point so far. Can he be the star of the show here on Dust 2 for G2 as he spots the first player? And Taco loses his head presently now as Smith is expecting. He knows there is someone coming from long, but will the timing work out for Smith? Looks like bodyy's going to get more frags there. Another one. Now it's just down to Smith. 1 versus 2. He's got the orb. It's not the best gun for the job. It's Cold with the double to save Luminosity in this round. He will get that defuse and Luminosity will get 11 rounds against the 13 that G2 currently have. And from the financial perspective, G2 are in a really great place.
Double AWPs picked up once again. Very strong collection there by Luminosity, especially when they lose 3 players in that round. An expensive round for them, but then they make some of the money back by grabbing these AWPs. coldzera looking for Kukli Airlines, but it's closed for business today. 2 rounds between these 2 teams, both teams on the bye. Despite winning the round, Luminosity have a worse bye in terms of rifles. FAMAS coming out, limitation on their grenades. G2 with the AWP, 4 AKs and full utility as well. So the pressure will continue here for Luminosity. That round win resets their loss bonus, so this is a very fragile time for the team.
So just biding their time here. G2 trying to make sure that no one's going to push those I was going to say apartments there. There are no apartments here. Push the tunnels. Got RPK there. The smoke will go down as well. So the default's being run here. Lots of smokes down at the moment. In fact, there was actually, I think I saw a smoke on the mini-map that went to crossover, which must be a mistake at this point in the round. But G2 now assaulting Catwalk. They'll take that easily, but Fallen's in position for the 1 frag. And he doesn't get it, actually. He doesn't even get a tag. That is a really big deal, because now G2 can get that information. They're still 5 men strong. They still have a lot of nades to go for a set piece here.
Position-wise, this is almost a mirror to when Luminosity went for that play and Fur was lurking outside long for ages. This time it's shox, so we might see a similar response, but Luminosity don't have the numbers that G2 did at the same time. shox trying to pull a rotation once again by putting the smoke over towards the... Oh, we put it over towards car position to stop Fallen, actually. He's going to get flashed as well. What a great play here. Scream coming in now. Fur can hold on to long. No, he can't. The headshot's coming in. 5 versus 2. That smoke is 10 out of 10 there by shox. Ruining the position that SmithZz has held for so long on their CT sides. Really nice stuff. Fallen didn't know what to do. Flashbangs coming in as well. Completely wrecked here by G2. This is going to reset their loss bonus as well. Luminosity are in trouble.
Yeah, they have nothing going into the next round. They have to save. They have to save these guns. Taco is going to be able to hold on to his AWP for now, but there's still yet more players coming from the French side. 2 are ready to move in through the doors, and G2's money is so good that they could try to sack a bunch of players in the effort to completely crush Luminosity, and it looks like that's what's happening. Shot missed by Taco, and easily handled by RPK. RPK gets both there, and honestly, that second shot from Scream was utterly disgusting in that last round. Hopefully we'll get to see it here. Yeah, there's the first one. He's going to spin around and boom. I mean, we could see it from first perspective. That was disgusting indeed. 14-11, and Luminosity are forced to use what they have to get a buy-in, but they're not going to spend all their money, actually. They're going to leave at least 1,000 in the bank on the majority of the players.
This is such a bad situation on this map for the Brazilians. But again, the pistols have been so strong for both sides. Fur manages to avoid getting taken down there towards long. And that's a very fast take here by G2. Will they continue? Fur still running for dear life here. There are Molotovs to be had. And he's going to make his way off the angle. So G2 have a firm control of long, and they're going to put the numbers elsewhere. Taco coming in for a flank, but he may be in for a nasty surprise. Spot Smiths, and there we go. Nice tap to the face, and he's going to try and get out of there. Although he can't run, he can't make that distance to the tunnels in time. So he'll go for the element of surprise. Body's going to take him down, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy situation for G2. Everyone's in position now. That was Taco was the main problem. And shox just had to hit some of these shots, but looks like he's actually going to have a bit of a hard time there. So now another frag going the way of Luminosity. Traded, of course, but that is a 3 versus 3. They don't have a kit. They don't have Kevlar. They don't have grenades. And they don't have any money either, so they might be thinking about just trying to get these guns into the next round where they have another buy, or are they truly going to try to go for this? Got Fur moving in the tunnels there. He's got an escort, so if he does die, the AK can be picked up for a follow-up play. But RPK, he's been really fantastic, and he's going to catch FNX as he tries to escape with the AK, although that said, FNX will survive. He's got 14 points of health there, and it definitely is in Luminosity's interest to keep these 2 weapons.
Yeah, that should mark the end of the round, and coldzera might just be going for a bit of containment here. Although, who knows, maybe he doesn't care about the scout so much. It does help the chances of the AK to be saved as coldzera just tries to apply some pressure here. Ben's coming in, he's picking on a P250. That could have gone horribly wrong there for G2, but fortunately for them, it doesn't. G2 moving towards game point now. Again, this is still going to be a very desperate situation for Luminosity. Is this going to cause them to go for a short boost? Are we going to see some aggression from them from somewhere? We will find out soon enough. Luminosity in the doldrums financially at the moment. Again, this is a map I feel like G2 need to win.
Yeah, I mean, FNX might not survive here. Scream, oh, it's like Scream did slow down actually, so FNX will be safe, but that was a close one. And the cool thing is that bodyy is playing so well in a grand finals on stage. You know, this is the player that you don't expect to deliver like a massive fragging from, especially he's one of the least experienced players on the team. So 15-11, one more round for G2, and they are going to move into Overpass with a map advantage. That is the way that they're going to be able to defeat Luminosity. Now, we don't have much in the way of Luminosity here for this buy. Of course, FNX saved that AK. Got a couple of FAMASs of Max 7. It is a jumble sale buy for them.
Yep, it's a reasonable one, however. It is a reasonable one, but again, they need aggression. Fallen, is he going to have some good timing here? That smoke's going to be a problem. Long has been abandoned by Luminosity. G2 have had a good time over towards short, and now we have numbers over there for the C2 side. Although G2 asking questions towards Long. Gonna take it for free. No engagement today. You can see Cold's gonna avoid the angle. Here's the grenades. Luminosity need to fight in numbers. They need to win the trades in this situation. They can't afford to even peek Long right now. They don't have many counter flashes. In fact, they've got one counter flash and 3 decoys. So maybe those decoys will come into play amongst some anarchy. Only one smoke as well. Angle's being held while Scream tries to find out some information. Oh man, that is just ridiculous. So far so good here for G2. Again, this is game points here for the Frenchman. They're over towards short. Not much he can do though. Shox still coming in on the flank if necessary, but Scream wants to clean up on his own. Trades both sides. Man advantage for the CTs. That's going to soon go though. Fallen alone now with 20 HP. Not much he can do. G2 will take the first map.
What a result there. 16-11 after a very back and forth matchup. They are really setting the pace here against Luminosity. And again, if bodyy carries this form into the next map, I mean, we know SmithZz is hitting his shots. Scream is doing his job as well. You can see the confidence there as he goes for the entry frags. This is definitely going to be an amazing second map. And we do have the guys over at the analyst desk are ready to analyze that first map.
Very much, James and DDK. You mentioned it, bodyy. Let's start with him. Tommy, talk to me about bodyy. We haven't really talked about him that much on this desk, other than we want him to step up, we want him to do good, but he's always in the shadow of everybody else on that team.
Well, that's sort of the role. It's hard to be a star on the team when you have shox and Scream taking a lot of the frags out of the way. But I mean, he had a real coming out party in the grand final. Now, we said before that he has high peaks, but he hasn't been a very consistent performer. Now, I mean, he chose the right time to have a good game.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that one of the roles that he's been performing at really well is defending that B bomb site on Dust 2. Even if he's more quiet on some of the other maps, I feel that he's been doing a really good job there. In this game in particular, he's been massive for G2, especially in those force buys and eco rounds, basically, with the Deagle and with the Scout as well.
Now, it's very back and forth. It's like a ping pong match. Talk me through these buys, forced buys. It was insane.
I mean, it reminded me a lot about the Fnatic Envious matchup from last year, where both teams force buy a lot and it goes back and forth. And whoever manages to string a couple of rounds together, first take control of the half, they run away with the game most often than not. And here, honestly, it's been really sloppy in these anti-force buy rounds. Teams deciding to go for B most of the time, which is, you know, a pretty narrow choke point if you don't go out immediately towards the bomb site. If you don't take the wide peaks, you're gonna get stuck in those tunnels. And we saw it happen to both of these teams. Of course, this disgusting shot from SmithZz. I mean, you're not gonna see that very often. But still, I felt that both teams could have played it better, and we saw a lot of gambles and reads from teams. G2 especially had a couple of really good reads towards that B bomb site, and in the end they did manage to pull through.
Tommy, what stood out for you?
Well, I mean, we basically saw G2 in peak form, right? That was the case. That was if G2 were to win this series, it would be because they continue playing exactly how they played in some of the earlier series. Everybody's hitting their shots. They're making all the right calls mid-round, and the little things go their way. Now, obviously, they lost their share of eco rounds or anti-eco rounds in that game, as did Luminosity. I think the one round that really ended up hurting Luminosity and broke their money was the one where FNX had the 1v1 in B at the very end.
Now, did you have a particular round you want to walk us through?
Yeah, I picked out a round. It was in the beginning of it was the one of the anti-force buy rounds, which I felt was a little bit sloppy. But first, it was actually a gun round that happened towards the A bomb site, and we saw in the Fnatic game that they were struggling with defending the bomb site after they planted the bomb, because they had all the players towards short. And here we can see that, you know, the bomb is being planted. Smith got a kill and he's aggressive towards the ramp area, but here it is Fur on a really delayed flank towards long, and while his team is fighting here, they're just buying time at this point, trying to survive so that he can get the flank, and he gets these 2 quick kills. Nobody from G2 is paying attention towards long. He gets this crucial kill on Smith, who was actually holding the angle with the AWP, and I thought that it was going to be a really important round because G2 was on an eco after this, but after this we saw the Smiths double scout kill towards B, so G2 did win the following round, but yeah, it was a really good play from Fur.
And the thing is, when you do something like that, that very late flank, that forces G2 to actively watch out for that for the entire rest of the half, which forces them to be slower on their rotations. And those little things, they just really add up. It's sort of like if you win a round in a smaller bomb site early on, that's going to force the defense to keep a second guy there further, or longer rather, instead of rotating out quickly. So those little things, if you can do them early on in the half, you can sort of affect how the other team is going to have to play. But then, as Janko said, they end up losing the next round and lost all the control with that.
So that was G2's map choice as well. So they do exactly what they need to do. You got to at least win yours, and they take that first map from the #1 team in the world. Moving into Overpass.
We have one more replay, Scott.
Oh, you have 2. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
And this is the one that I thought that actually decided the winner in the end. This was towards the end of the half, and it was G2 going for an A execute basically, and you can see the smoke that falls right now towards the wall, and that obstructs Fallen for holding that angle that Smith is really good at holding, and allows Scream to just push through. Then he gets this crazy second headshot towards the pit area, but you could see that they exactly knew how the LG team is probably set up with the op towards the car area. They had a perfect execute to combat it. Yes, they had a couple of great headshots in the round as well, but this was in the end what I think that won the game for G2.
And you know that those headshots by Scream, we didn't have the POV of that in there. We had the instant replay during the game. That really sums up why G2 ended up winning that map at the end.
Moving on to Overpass, LG's choice. What are you thinking? Any changes to what we talked about in the first pregame?
I think that LG will be able to bounce back on this map. I think that it was a sort of an anomaly that G2 beat them at Pro League as dominant as they were back then. I just feel that LG will be capable of resetting after that Dust 2 and coming back stronger on Overpass.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Obviously, Janko said before the game that he thinks both teams are going to win their own maps, and that's how it's going to go to 3. So I still think we're on track for that. Unfortunately, not for my prediction, which saw the game going differently. But hopefully we get the third map. I think I'm going to be very interested in seeing how Luminosity plays on the CT side, because after losing the first map, I expect them to be slightly more aggressive perhaps than they otherwise would have been, because I think they want to sort of exert dominance and just get map control early on in the game.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That's going to do it all for our wrap-up of Map 1. When we come back, Map 2, James and DDK are going to bring you Overpass. Don't go away.
play Counter-Strike?